Welcome to another episode of The Brand Called You, a podcast and podcast show that brings you leadership lessons, knowledge, experience, and wisdom from thousands of successful individuals from around the world. I'm your host, Ashutosh Garg, and today I'm delighted and privileged to welcome not just a very accomplished professional, but a very accomplished tennis player from Paris, France, fellow YPO member, Nina Urman. Nina, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Ash. Thank you.
Thank you. Nina is a life coach and a facilitator for self-mastery for top leaders. She's a Russian-German former tennis player with over 10 years of experience delivering transformation around the world. Nina thinks in English, feels in Russian, organizes in German, speaks fluent French, and coaches in all 4 languages. And as I just mentioned to you, she's a fellow member of the YPO. So Nina, before we start talking about coaching, which you are well recognized for, tell me about your own amazing journey from tennis to delivering transformation to coaching.
Yeah, people always ask me, how did you get started on your journey? And I think the tennis journey is not so far from what I do today. I'm a professional coach, a personal coach, but the tennis journey was for me all about understanding myself, self-discipline, how to be on the court, how to become better on so many levels, the mental level, the emotional level, the physical level, of course. So I think all of the lessons from my professional tennis journey, I can now apply in my coaching with high performers and high achieving leaders.
Fascinating. So, let's talk about coaching. And my first question is, what made you select coaching as a career?
Yeah, so it goes back to my journey. I'm half Russian, half German originally. I was born in Russia, in Siberia. And as an only child, my parents were very attentive. So I was always surrounded by kind of by a lot of love and attention. But when we moved to Germany, my dad gave me that tennis racket and said, "You're going to become a professional tennis player." I didn't know what that meant. And so kind of fast forward, when I selected coaching as my journey, I think it was all about finding myself. First, I got to coach myself.
Correct.
And when I was in my identity crisis and not understanding what's going on, from being a professional tennis player to who am I without the tennis racket? There was a little bit of an identity crisis. This is when I moved to France. I met my husband, who already had 4 children from before. I mean, I was a stepmom at 25 to 4 amazing kids. And I was like, what am I going to do? And actually, one of my friends, who is a multiple entrepreneur, said to me, why don't you get a coach? And I'm like, who's a coach? And I started working with a coach, and that made me realize, oh, I could totally do this. This is something that is a desire in me, a calling, so I can help other people. Today I coach corporate athletes, right? I was an athlete, professional athlete. Now I'm doing this with, people who really want to master themselves.
What a great response. And, who would understand the value of a coach better than a sports person? And you've given us fantastic response. But my next question, Nina, is that as a former professional tennis player, what lessons from tennis do you bring to your coaching?
Yeah, that's a great question, Ash. I think the biggest lesson for me is to master your emotions. So what I share with some of the leaders that I coach today is that our mind and our emotions are connected. And sometimes we get caught up here in our mind too much. We're thinking. And we have about 60,000 to 70,000 thoughts a day, every single day. Correct. Most of them are negative and repetitive. By default, we will go to the worst case scenarios. But when you look at the emotions, when you look at the heart, I do a lot of intuitive coaching with people because I believe everybody has an intuition, and the leaders, if they listen to their intuition, they have actually so much wisdom. Science has proven today that the heart is an intelligent organ and actually has a lot of information. So what I learned from my tennis is to connect those two.
Wow.
What is the vibration in my body? How do I feel it? And can I get my mind to work strategically to get, to win, to hit that shot in a way that the other person cannot get it? And so same things I translate to, navigating uncertainty, to reaching your goals, to, mastering that mental and emotional piece. I think that's the most important gift.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you. And now coming to the work that you're doing with so many corporate leaders, based on your own experience, what are some of the common challenges a lot of top leaders face when it comes to self-mastery and personal growth?
Yeah. So the first one, I think, is what people usually come to me for is this idea that they have kind of achieved a lot of the things on the outside. They've ticked the boxes, right? They have high careers, they've built families, they've done all the things that they should be doing. But they still feel a level of, I wouldn't say emptiness, but there's like this void on the inside. They're like, oh, I've done all the things. Why am I not feeling happy? Why am I not feeling fulfilled? What is missing? What is that missing piece? And so I help them realize that you can match the outside and the inside. You can kind of bridge that gap. So this is the first thing they come with. They also come with questions around overwhelm and time. I don't have enough time. There is so much pressure on me. I'm a little bit lonely as a leader because I have to make all of the decisions by myself. Nobody can tell me what to do, or I'm supposed to be the one leading everybody else, right? So it's a lot of responsibility and pressure. And they also come with some relationship challenges. First of all, around how to manage their family life and their high professional stakes, but also with their team, with their partners. Some of the questions around, how do I stay true to myself and in integrity, make some tough decisions, firing people, hiring people, all of these things in terms of, the relationship challenges they have.
Thank you. Thank you. And when it comes to helping a leader develop self-awareness and self-mastery, what is the process that you follow?
Yeah. So there's a very specific framework I use to help them, and it has to do with that connection that I mentioned earlier with the mind and emotions. But most people don't realize how important emotions are in terms of driving your actions and creating results in your life, because nothing will change until you actually do different things. And so the process is to sustainably change your behaviors. Many people can get very quick results in about 30 days with willpower. But willpower over a long term is not sustainable. It has to be a change from within. It has to be something that your body and your mind will recognize as, oh, I'm doing this for me. So by default, you will go to what you already know, to the familiar. So to change anything and to transform anything, it has to come from a consistent taking action, everyday kind of based thing. And so this is what I'm helping people. First of all, it's a self-awareness realization. I'm doing something. Like, why do we do something is because of how we think it will make us feel. And why don't we do something is because of how we think it will make us feel.
Well said.
Understanding that we're all after an emotion is very important. But also, our emotions drive all of our actions. You see how we have both, Ash? We have that I want this because I want to feel a certain way, which is a vibration in my body, but I also am driven by an emotion. So here's the trick for everybody listening. This is very important. If there's one thing you take away, this is it. You need to understand how you can generate emotion now in order to get what you want in the future. Now, this one is such a profound concept that transformed my life and certainly many of the leaders I worked with. So that's the process you got to understand. And of course, it takes a lot of consistent, awareness and action, but it can take literally, the transformation starts with the awareness of, oh, I can actually make this happen.
Fascinating. Thank you. My next question to Nina is that what role does vulnerability play in leadership? And how can leaders develop the courage to be vulnerable?
Yeah, I believe vulnerability is one of the biggest strengths a leader can have. As you know, I'm also a certified former facilitator for YPO, the Young Presidents Organization that we're both part of. And my coaching, I do a lot of group coaching because I believe this is where you actually have extraordinary results. I can tell you, Ash, I can coach you through some stuff. But if we're in a group of people and you kind of have 10 coaches showing you the mirror of what's happening,
correct,
you have a much quicker transformation if you decide to take that feedback. So whenever we are able to take off the mask that we all have of what I'm supposed to do and how am I supposed to act, and actually show our heart. Again, when you say courage, it actually comes from the French word cœur, heart. Courage. Courage doesn't feel good. Does not feel good because it's self-confidence with a little bit of fear mixed in. But if we're able to open up and be vulnerable and be courageous to share some of the struggles we're going through, actually both struggles and opportunities and victories, because what I've noticed, Ash, some of the people have a hard time sharing their successes because they feel like they're too much or they're ashamed or they will be judged. So it's both ways, struggles and opportunities. And if you're able to do that, you suddenly realize how we're all connected, that separation is illusion. We're all connected on a deeper level. And then all of a sudden people start helping you. All of a sudden people start supporting you. And that's the great gift of vulnerability, I believe.
Amazing. My next question is that how can leaders identify and overcome self-limiting beliefs or mental barriers that may be holding them back to achieve their full potential?
Yeah, great question. I think, Ash, it's about mind mastery and mind management, because when we talk about limiting beliefs, what are limiting beliefs? It's a thoughts, sentences in our mind, literally, that we have been thinking over and over and over again. So thoughts that are thought over and over again become beliefs. They crystallize as something that is true for you. It's not the truth, but it's true for you.
Right.
So how do we dissolve those limiting beliefs? It's by what I call thought work. It's by understanding, again, becoming aware of what am I thinking all day long. I have this great exercise, which is so simple, but really makes a lot of difference, that I call the thought detox. It's emptying out your brain on paper. And most people will be like, oh, wait, if I'm thinking all of this, no wonder I'm feeling this way. Wait a minute, maybe I can have a choice in what it is that I'm thinking. So what I help people with is getting out of their own way, getting outside of themselves to observe themselves, becoming the observer of their life, and kind of reprogramming the brain, reprogramming the default thinking so they can feel a different way, think, and then therefore act differently and create different results.
Yeah. Makes sense. Makes sense. My next question is that when you talk of self-mastery, what are some of the common misconceptions people have, and how can you overcome them with your coaching?
Yeah, some of the misconceptions that people have, I think the biggest is that I just want to be happy. When we only ask people, what do you want to feel? How do you want to be in your world? And they'll tell me, I just want to feel happy. I just want to feel peaceful. I just want to feel at peace and self-mastery. And of course, it's not the reality. The reality is that we have all of it, the good, the bad, the ugly. And so I help people understand that it's not about happiness. It's about humanness. It's about being alive. If you want to feel happy all the time, you can just think happy thoughts all of the time. Right. But that's not what most people want. We want to feel sad when somebody passes away. We want to feel courageous overcoming obstacles. We can do hard things. So this misconception of, oh, I just, want to feel happy all of the time. I think the pursuit of happiness actually creates a lot of frustration, Ash.
Well said. My next question is that how can leaders effectively balance their professional and personal lives? And why is this balance important for self-mastery?
So important. As I told you, it's one of the challenges people come to me with, right? They're like, okay, how can I have it all? And because they're high achievers, right? Like just as I am, they're like, how can I have it all at the same time now? And so I believe in work-life blending rather than work-life balance. I think blend is like a smoothie.
That's a much better word, yeah.
It's also just like even in the image, we have very intense lives. I'm traveling a lot. Yeah. So I told you, I have 7 children, right? So my husband is 4 from before. We have 3 together. We're managing it all. And so why is it important it's important to, in the middle of that storm and intensity of life, to stay peaceful and centered. I believe that is a core strength to be able to not get absorbed by everything, but become the observer. Right. So observe, but not absorb. Okay, so that's important. How can we have it all? I believe that it's about stages in life and chapters in life. It's not about having all of it at the same time. It's about priorities and mastering time and mastering your internal emotions. So think about it as like riding a bike, right? You're constantly navigating, you're constantly adapting, right? It's not like you're in a gym and you're doing the same thing. There's going to be obstacles and there's going to be challenges, but you actually want them to be there so you can overcome them. So with family, I think one of the exercises I do with people is to give me their time journal. When I ask them to give me a time journal, I ask them, where does your time and energy go? And most of us are not aware. Correct. And then I ask them, what are the most important things in your life? And most of the people will say family, health, personal fulfillment, purpose. And then we match. Where does your time and energy go? How much time do you spend with your family? How much time and energy goes on your purpose? And many of them realize they don't want to spend 24/7 with their family. It is one of the most important pieces, but how much time do they want to spend? Intentional quality time. That's the important piece. And when we do this exercise, we actually realize, oh, I can't have it all at the same time right now.
Fascinating. So my next 2 or 3 questions are about you personally. My next question is, how has your own background, multiple countries, tennis, how has your own background supported your coaching philosophy, your style, and your values?
A great question. I think there's so many different layers and I'm still discovering, right? I believe we're like humans are like onions. Correct. Right? Correct. It's not about learning more and growing more. It's actually unraveling all the limitations to get to the green, juicy part of the onion. Yeah. And so I'm in the process as everyone else. But I think our past definitely shapes us, but I want to know how I can create from the future. I'd rather, answer this question like, okay, who's Nina 10 years from now? Yeah. And I want to take her advice and her wisdom. My background definitely shaped me. The tennis, the Russia and Germany adventures, being a stepmom so early in life, becoming a coach to others. And my purpose has changed. I think my purpose has changed from, making my parents proud and delivering results to how do I win the game of life? Like, what are the rules? How do I play? How do I win it? To how do I match the inside and the outside? Because that was a big self-discovery journey, and I studied so much. And now my purpose is, how do I become the example of what's possible through self-mastery? Because people will say, like, how do you manage it all? How do you do it? Nina, the answer is self-mastery. Gotta master yourself.
Well said. So I have time for two more questions for you. My next question is that how have you been shaped by people? And all of us have got people who influence in our lives. How have you been shaped by people in your life, and how are they influencing you as a coach today?
Yeah. So many people come up. I think my parents are definitely a big influence on me, from early on, as for so many of us, right? Great teachers. I've had amazing teachers and mentors on my journey and continue to have them. As a coach, if you want to see the value of coaching, your coach has to have a coach. So I'm, continually working and self-developing. My husband and my children are immense kind of learning grounds. I believe relationships in general are a huge curriculum for self-mastery continuously. So definitely these people have shaped me, shaped my thinking and my feeling.
Correct.
So yeah.
Correct. Well said. And my last question to you, Nina, and this is for the many, many people who will listen to our conversation. You had such an amazing journey in so many different areas. Based on your own journey, what would you say are 3 lessons you would want a lot of our viewers and listeners to take away?
Okay. 3 main lessons. Okay, so the first one I would say is, and it sounds so cliche, but it's so true.
Yeah.
It's listen to your heart. Listen to your heart, listen to intuition. Listen, but also act upon it.
Yeah.
Because I think many of us hear it, they listen, and then they discard it. And they're just like, oh, it's okay. I'll do it. The second one that I apply a lot, not procrastinate and to not push things forward, is do it now. Do it now. It's like I have it written on my desk, and it's so true.
Yeah.
Like, do it now. Whatever you can do it now.
Yeah.
And the last one that I mentioned earlier a little bit is, I would say, is create from the future rather than from your past.
Yeah.
If you go from the past, then you will repeat whatever you have already lived. But if you look into the future and create from the future, then you can be surprised what is possible for you.
Amazing. Amazing. And on that note, Nina, and your 3 wonderful lessons: listen to your heart, act upon it. Second, you said, was do it now, don't procrastinate. And the third one, which is so powerful, create from the future, not from your past. Thank you so much for speaking to me about your own amazing journey. Thank you for talking to me about so many different aspects of coaching. What was fascinating was to get a perspective of what you as a professional tennis player was able to bring so effectively into coaching. Thank you also for speaking to me about so many different aspects of leadership. Thank you again, and good luck.
Thank you so much, Ash.
Thank you for listening to the Brand Called You videocast and podcast, a platform that brings you knowledge, experience, and wisdom of hundreds of successful individuals from around the world. Do visit our website www.tbcy.in to watch and listen to the stories of many more individuals. You can also follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Just search for the Brand Called You.